Next tonight, the worst global crisis since World War II. That's the conclusion of the International Labour Organization on the impact of COVID-19 on the global workforce. The UN body estimates that some 1.25 billion workers are seeing their livelihoods threatened by the pandemic. Around 81% of the world's 3.3 billion workers are already affected by full or partial workplace closures. That's 4 in every 5 people. The key sectors most likely to feel the greatest economic fallout include retail and manufacturing, and the Americas is set to suffer the greatest shock to the labour market, with 43% of employees in high-risk sectors, followed by Europe at 42%. Earlier on, I spoke to Guy Ryder, Director General of the International Labour Organization, and I started off by asking him how different this was to what we saw during the 2008 financial crisis.
2008, 2009, we lost something like 22 million jobs around the world. Our forecast for the next 3 months, for the second quarter of the year, is that we're going to lose the equivalent of 195 million jobs around the world. So this is a complete job catastrophe. But I suppose in a world where 4 out of every 5 workers are living in countries under total or partial lockdown, it shouldn't come as a total surprise that we're in this territory.
Now, what sort of measures can be taken to try and minimise any sort of damage that we're seeing?
Yeah, well, I think that there are 3 areas, I think, where governments need to be sort of focusing. The first, and it is happening, is we need to see fiscal stimulus put into the economy. We need to see the type of accommodating monetary policy that can keep the economy going. And we've seen some pretty dramatic initiatives, country by country, $2 trillion in the United States and all the rest of it. I think the shortcoming in this regard, at least, is that there is no international coordination. We're not really seeing a pan-European approach to these problems, and still less are we seeing it at the world level.
Do you think that this crisis is going to change the way that we work in the future? Are we going to see more of these jobs going digitally?
Well, I think we're all surprising ourselves, aren't we, the extent to which we're capable of working digitally and remotely. I think, really, the question is not if it's technologically possible. I think it's much more a question of this is how we really want to work and if it's the best way of organising the world of work. You know, in this organisation where I'm working, we sent home 1,000 people here in Geneva. I think some of them, I mean, everyone's doing a great job. I'm not sure everybody really wants to work in that way, in a permanent basis. Work is a social thing. So it's a question, firstly, of whether we can get the job done without meeting personally and talking to each other in the same room, as it were. And secondly, if this is really what the future of work should look like. And I don't think we should jump to the conclusion that just because it's possible, it's necessarily desirable.